All right, y'all, I want to thank y'all for tuning the video today. Today we've got the 24 Limited behind me. One of the things I'm going to disclose to you is I pull a 45-foot toy hauler with that Can-Am, lifted with 35s. I've got a 16-foot garage. It's a pretty heavy camper. So when I build my trucks, just want to tell y'all this, I want confidence in towing. And so, you know, there's a scale there. You can get a really soft ride and really smooth, but it's not going to tow as well. You can get a really firm ride. It's going to tow better. Y'all know the difference between the dually, you know, like towing with a half ton. That scale is going to move, right? And so for me, I had the same setup on my 22, pulled cross country with it. I loved it. I put the same setup on this truck. I've already done some towing with it and I absolutely love the way it tows. So let's get into the build. Let's talk about that. But I definitely wanted y'all to know y'all can do different things. Y'all can, you know, have different leveling kits and stuff like that. This is what works for me. This is what I like to use. And so let's get into it. Okay, so starting at the front of the truck, I did get the Warren package on this truck, and actually when your truck leaves the plant, they ship your winch to the dealer direct. So my winch actually got there, had the VIN number on it. You know, coming around the side here, we'll start getting into the meat of things. These are the 37 1350 20 grapplers. You'll either love them or hate them. They do make a low pitch hum, and some people can't stand it. You know, to me, it's a little different. But the sidewall flex and the towing with these is amazing, and the ride is amazing. You know, compared to a lot of the other tires I've tried, they have no vibration. They're smooth as glass at 80, but they make noise, and they do not hydroplane. So lots of pros and cons. Tires, that's going to be completely up to you. These are not for people that like no road noise. So if you look here on my front end, I've got the 2.5-inch Readylift coil replacements. I don't do the spacers. I always do the coil replacements. And I do like the stock factory shocks because I think Ford's done a good job of that, you know, stiff to soft, and then also the good towing. And so what I do on that setup, if you look down here, is I just do the Readylift shock extensions, and that's all I did there. Now, if you're looking at this rod right here, this is the one-up off-road rod. You can basically build whatever you did on my Platinum. Y'all notice I just put a piece of aluminum on there and move this linkage up. But on this one, I use the one-up off-road links, and this is all thread right here with just 2 ends. You cut it to what you need it to be. Just before you make your lift, you kind of look at where these sensors are, mark them, and then you want to be in that same position again after you get the lift put on. And so that's basically it. Put the weight of the vehicle on it, measure them, do what you need to do, get those about the same. I do run the 1-inch Bora spacers. They're kind of hard to see in there. You do have to cut your studs. If you're going to run a 2-inch, you're still going to have to cut the tips of the studs off. But to kind of give you a side profile of those 1-inch, you know, they don't stick out too bad, but just gives it a little bit more of that aftermarket look. And then you're going to rub just a little bit with those 1-inch spacers. I did trim that ear off right here, you can see. And I have 0 rub on the radius arm, sway bar. And I did not do the sway bar drop, because if you do the sway bar drops, you will rub that sway bar right here. Okay, so you take those off, put them back up. No rub on that at all. I had the 2-inch on my last truck, and I had to trim all of this out. You know, if you do a 2-inch spacer, you're going to have to do a 3.5-inch lift. You're going to have to get up there pretty high. So anyway, doing the rest of the walk around the truck, you do notice some of the differences for 24 is the mirror caps are chrome on the Limiteds. They're not body color. And then we're going to move into the back end here. Okay. So these are the Ready Air Airlogic bags. I absolutely love these bags. They help prevent axle wrap because, you know, you're not on a single pivot point and you're dispersing that load between 2 bags over the top of that spring. The other thing I like is that they bolt up, get in here to where your 5th wheel prep is. So you've got a good solid bracket, all that hooked up. And then now they make this little bracket right here that you can see that goes across the front, and then your suspension link is tied in there. You do have to remove your overloads. Okay, this is the look from the bottom. So these are my stock U-bolts. Now I put the trimmer blocks in the back. You're going to need to add the trimmer blocks if you're going to do a 2.5 in the front, if you want a little bit of rake. So these are just stock trimmer blocks. But because you remove the overload, you get the 1-inch that you add here. So your stock U-bolts still work if you put this bag kit on. This bag kit does come with spacers, so if you do leave your overload on with this bag kit, or I guess you have to take the overloads off, but it comes with spacers for the bolts if you don't add the trimmer block. So that's an option there too. And then since I'm under here, I really try to find a good place to mount that air tank. I use stainless bolts. I mount it right here above the spare tire. So you don't have to have the tank for the Airlogic kit, but if you don't want to sit there and have to wait on the pump to run when you're hooking up, you want it to instantly air up, you can do that. And then if you want to put air in the bed, you can do that also. So I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna show y'all where I mounted the pump to the frame. Best place I found was on the passenger side. I used the factory little frame rails that they sent. Let's get under there, I'll show that to you real quick. So this is looking down the frame rail from the back of the truck towards the front. You can see the pumps mounted right there. Got the 2 brackets, and then just ran the power up to the front. All right, y'all, got the GoPro hooked up, and as you can see, I've got my app hooked on right here. I have a 2-port system. I did tie my auxiliary 1 to the trigger wire, so that's why the power has to be on, because you can see it actually keeps tank pressure. You know, if you don't have a tank, not a big deal, you can just set these to 0 and it doesn't run. But in case something happened with my airline and my tank, I wanted to be able to shut the system off and not just be tied to ignition. But we're going to talk about the 2-channel system and why I think you need it, and let's go ahead and get into that real quick. Let me turn the camera around. Okay, think about this. If you've got a 1-channel system and you've got it teed, and you're going to go around a left turn, and you've got a 14-foot tall camper, a 13.6, whatever, right? When you're going around that left turn, it pushes down on the passenger side, right? And if that's a teed system, it's actually airing up your driver's side. So it's leaning you out when you don't want it to lean you out. It's actually making the system worse. And so buying a separated channel system where the airbags can't communicate, right, where they both have 40 pounds, but when I go around a turn, that one's just gonna, the pressure is gonna increase. It's not gonna push it to the other bag, right, and make the truck lean. And so that's why I really, you know, for the extra $100, $200, whatever it is to get a separated channel system, go ahead and do it. I don't really air up my driver's side less or more than my passenger side. I tie the channels together. But in this system, when you took them together, they're separated. One cannot push air to the other one, okay? And so that's what you want if you're hauling something that's tall, I guess, more than anything. If you're running a low boy or something like that, it doesn't really matter. But if you've got something of height and you're going around turns, you're really gonna feel the difference if you've got a teed airbag system versus a separated channel airbag system. Okay, and so let me turn this around and I'm gonna show y'all, let's get out of the truck and let me show y'all how this works. Okay, so I'll get my screen on here. So the pump's gonna kick on right away because the tank's almost at kick on pressure, but I can put these together or separate and air one side up or the other, or put them like this, right? And so if you're looking at the truck, you can see it instantly comes up to 35 pounds. I didn't have to wait on it to build up. So if I'm hooking my trailer up, I'm finishing what I'm doing, right? Picking the legs up, I've got the weight off the legs. You can see now, back end came up. See, it's at 32, 31. You can add more, take it up to 45. And if you want to dump it out, you just hold that down. Truck airs down. Now, as you can see on the app, we're back at 100 PSI. It's going to build up to almost 130 before it shuts off. So let's just let it do its thing. But let's get back in the truck and we'll go over a few more things. And just finishing the walk around on the outside. So, you know, on the axles, if you're going to do a 35 or 37, you know you're going to do that. You know, I would go ahead and bump up to the 355s. You can get the 355 with the FX4 package. It's the same thing I had on my 22. And that is what's in this truck. 355s just help it a little bit so you're not downshifting as much. But, you know, if you're going to run stock tires, definitely the 331s. And the 35s will be okay on the 331s too. But if you're going to get up to the 37s, I definitely recommend the 355. So the other thing you'll notice on the Limited is these are satin. They're not a chrome. My Platinum had chrome. And another difference between the 23 and the 24 is when you look up here, we don't have the headrest speakers on the 24s. I guess they deleted that as a package overall. So just getting in the truck. I mean, these seats in this Limited, they are very nice. You can see I am build number, is that 394? Suede headliner, you know, just a couple upgrades from the Platinum. And then this one's got the full moonroof. And the other thing I added to my sticker was this Ford factory vault. And this is really nice, guys. It's built pretty good. It's going to be pretty difficult for somebody to get into if they're in a hurry. It's got just a combination, and it lifts open. And I'm probably going to put the IGLA pin system on this truck. Waiting on a call back from a guy in Houston that's going to do that for me. I know I'm trying to cover a lot very fast. I'm trying to walk around because I've had a lot of questions about what suspension, what tires, what everything that I'm running. Like I said, it depends on what you're towing and what your plans are with the vehicle, on how you're going to run it. I'll get the tape measure out in a minute, and I'll actually measure front to back and show you how much rake it is with the trimmer blocks in the back and the 2.5 Readylift in the front, just so you get those numbers exact. You know, there's been a lot of questions about the standard output versus the high output. You know, I had the standard output in the 23 Platinum. I have the high output again in the 24 Limited. You know, I will say this. Everyday driving, you know, if you're going to tow a small boat, something like that, you're not really towing anything, you know, let's say 12 to 15,000 pounds or over. You're not going to really notice a lot of difference between the standard output and the high output. But once you get over that 12 to 15,000 pounds, you definitely do notice the difference between that high output. You know, it holds 9th, 10th gear with the high output, where the standard output, you know, it'd be 6th and 7th. It's just, there's a pretty good difference. You can feel that extra torque when you're towing, and when you've got the cruise control set at, you know, 65, 70 miles an hour, it doesn't downshift as much. It doesn't need to as much. So the high output is great. It does burn more DEF is a downside, right? So you're going to burn a little more DEF. My standard output, I don't even think I put DEF fluid in it the whole time I had it. You know, this truck, I've put DEF in it, and I've noticed it drops pretty significantly, so you're going to have to keep adding it. But when you have more power, you're going to need more DEF, so that's just the way it works. But I don't mind it. It's not that much. I mean, DEF is very inexpensive. I mean, a couple gallons every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I don't mind doing that. So anyway, so let me get out. Let's get the measurements on the tires, the height of the fenders, and let's take a look at that and show you all the difference. Okay, so I'm sitting on level ground right now. Try to do this one-handed here. So we're right at 44 3/4 roughly on the front fender. We're looking about 45 1/4 on the back fender. So about a 1/2 inch rake on this truck as it sits. Trimmer block in the rear, 2.5 leveling kit in the front. Now we're going to talk about the bed cover real quick, and we're going to talk about the fuel tank. I did not do the 60-gallon fuel tank under it this time, and I'll give you all a few reasons about that. But let me get the remotes and let's do it. Okay, so with these trucks, you do get the power up, power down tailgates. You can see right here. Click it twice, and the tailgate's going to open. We're going to talk about bed covers real quick. And so if you pull a fifth wheel, you know, when I first originally started with my 22, I looked at bed covers, and I always liked the flip bed covers that you could flip up. And I flipped those up and rolled them up. The problem is when you flipped them up to here, you had a stack of about 4 or 5 inches, and that becomes a real problem for the nose of the camper when you're turning. So, and yes, to argue that, you can flip it up against the back windshield, but then you lose all your visibility from the back windshield. So for me, these rolling lock types, you know, I think this one's a Leer. You know, I've had the retracts. All those work really well. I do run the Reese Goose box in my RV with the airbag. And so you do kind of have to watch which one you order and how much overhang you have here, because that Reese Goose box needs to be able to come to almost a 90 degree and not hit this side rail. So this cover for me works really well. I like it. It has the 4 drains on the rails. You've got 2 here in the back, and then there's 2 there up in the front. Okay, I did not do the 60-gallon tank under the truck. I just, you know, if I keep a truck a long time, it might be worth it to me. And then I didn't really like some of the slow fuel issues, you know, of it clicking off at the truck stops. I want to be able to pump that fuel in and it go in and not have to stand there and mess with it. And so I went auxiliary tank this time. And what I did on this setup is, this is the, I think this is an RDS tank. It's like a 35 gallon. I did have to take it to a shop because there were 2 more top vents like this, and I had them cut off and welded flush so that it would slide up under this box. As you can see, there is very little clearance to do that. And then I have, that is a 12 volt, it's a 2-wire 12 volt. It's like a sprinkler valve, but it is rated for fuel. So it has a capacitor. When it loses power, it actually uses a capacitor power to close the ball valve because I wanted a full flow. Now I tried a magneto coil, but the coil gets too hot and it's not made to be open. This one, when it actually opens, it uses the amperage to open and charge capacitor, but when it's open, it uses like milliamps to stay open, and it can stay open all day. So if you're gonna use a valve, now, this is the Gen Y offset that I run. It basically, short bed, makes it where you don't hit the cab corners with the RV. Absolutely love that thing. It pops right out. These just keep it from pivoting. They're not even pinned in, so they just keep it from turning and swiveling. This goes into your factory ball, and then this, I think it's 5 inches back. You pull this pin, pull this up, the whole thing comes out with one hand. Way better than dealing with the 5th wheel hitch. Okay, and I also want to talk to you about one of the reasons I did the fuel tank the way I did it, because, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you took up your bed space. You didn't put that 60 gallon under the truck. My distance to empty is very accurate with this one. You know, I like the factory tank with the distance to empty on that tank. I know how much I have. The other thing I like to do is I like to keep this tank full in the bed. It has a gravity feed system, and so I can leave that switch on and it'll just stay full until this tank is empty, right? Just like the old school, just like you cut the filler neck and you put that gravity feed in, there's a little valve in there. When it's full, it shuts off the flow, right? I like to carry the extra weight. Being it's a 1 ton, I want it to ride better, right? And so I leave that fuel in the bed and I save it for a rainy day. You know, if I need it, I hit auxiliary 2 is what I have it tied to in my truck, and it opens that valve. And it's an ignition switch on, so anytime I open that valve, it's gonna keep filling in there to my tank. If I don't wanna stop, if it's raining or weather's bad, I turn that on, use that fuel, turn it back off. I top this tank off whenever I want to. But I like having it as almost a complete reserve tank that I can use when I need, and then switch it off when I don't, and then have the extra weight in the bed to make it ride a little better. So that was my thinking on that. You do give up some bed space. It's a con. Completely up to you on what you want to do on that. All right, so the next thing we'll talk about is the trailer TPMS. What comes in the kit, right? This truck just happened to come with it. I ordered it with it. I already have it on one trailer. I may put it on my small utility trailer. I think the trailer TPMS is very important if you do long road trips and you don't want to have blowouts. It actually shows your trailer pressure and your temperature. So if you've got a bad bearing or anything happening, you're going to know about it. Now, where this plugs in, you'll see this harness will come with the truck. A lot of the trucks will just come with a yaw sensor and a harness for the yaw sensor that mounts on the tongue of the trailer. I don't use that because I don't use the Pro Trailer backup. If you're somebody that needs that, that's what you can use it for. I think this harness that I got actually came with the camera, the TPMS, and the yaw. So like, this is the TPMS plug, this is the yaw sensor plug, and then this is the camera plug. Okay, now I'll walk in there in a minute and show you my 5th wheel so y'all can see. I already have all this installed on my 5th wheel. I've had it installed since 21 or 22, and it works great. Every truck I've had, you just plug it in, everything pops right up. You don't have to relearn anything. Your actual TPMS sensors, this is the box that mounts on your trailer frame that plugs into this harness. It remembers what sensors are where. So when you buy another truck, you hook up to another truck, it automatically pulls it up. It knows what sensors are in what tires and everything. So that profile is actually saved in this box, which is nice. This is the TPMS sensor box. It picks up the signals, and then you'll get this right here, and you'll see it'll have the last 8 of your VIN on it, just like the winch did. The dealer is going to get that. And then you just need to take your trailer down and have these TPMS sensors installed in your trailer. Now, if you have 5th wheel prep, you see that you have that plug in your bed, and so you're ready for it, okay? If you don't have 5th wheel prep, What they're going to send you is this, and this will replace your bumper, or you can mount it in the bed wherever you want to put it. But this is the plug that has that connector in it, right? And so you can either, if you don't have fifth wheel prep, if you're going to mount it there, or this is a direct pop-in replacement for the one down here, because you have the 4-way on the bottom. Okay, so if I want to hook it up to my utility trailer and I'm not using a fifth wheel, I need to install this and just plug it in, and that's going to give me that connector for my camera and all my other stuff. And if you're replacing that and you won't have a 4-way anymore, Ford actually goes ahead and sends you this 7-way to 4-way, so that you can still pull trailers with a 4-way on them. And then this box here, I never used it because my camper's indoors. I keep it stored indoors, but if you keep your camper stored outdoors, you're going to want a place to plug this into so these pins don't get corroded. And so you mount this on your RV or your trailer, and you can plug that pin connector in there, and that will keep those pins sealed up. So this is what your TPMS kit looks like, trailer camera kit. You know, if you get the trailer camera, let's walk in there real quick. I'll show you my RV. I'll show you what all that looks like. Okay, so I'm under my fifth wheel in my RV, and you can see I've got two plugs. I've got my standard 7-way, and I've got this right here. Now this actually runs up. You can see I ran this up into the frame. It comes out down here, comes down past the leg, and then it runs the length of my RV. And so however long the harness was, I think it's right here is where I mounted my box. You can see it up under there. So that's my TPMS box, right? If you have a yaw sensor, it'll have a pigtail for the yaw sensor, and you can generally mount those right here, and those are used for the Pro Trailer backup. So once you've done all that, let's walk back here to the back of the RV. And this is one of the best parts I love about towing, is having these cameras. If you look up there, I just pulled the factory camera out that came with the trailer. It was like a wireless one. Mounted that one in. I ran that wire inside the trim down here to the frame, and then I drilled a hole through the floor, and this is my trailer camera wire right there that goes up under the frame. That's the same harness that I showed y'all on the tailgate that runs the length of the trailer. So I run the TPMS and the camera, absolutely love it. And one of the big benefits of running the TPMS and the camera is you know, when you're pulling, it's hard to see people beside you, behind you. You know, you don't know if you need to move over, things like that. One of the best benefits I can tell you about the camera on the trailer is, it's just like looking out a rear view pulling a regular flatbed trailer. You can see how fast people are coming. And that's what you really can't see in your mirror, right? You can see people that are, you know, yeah, can I get over? Can I not get over? But it's real hard to see how fast they're coming. And I will say that camera being up on top of that camper gives me a pretty, like a pano view. And so I can actually see when there's people, I can see both lanes behind me on the opposite sides, and I can see how fast those people are coming on the interstate. So definitely a big help, big safety plus for me. So it's well worth it. So if you're doing the same exact setup that I did, these are your factory fifth wheel prep bolts. These are my stock studs that I removed, because if I ever want to put the stock studs back in, you just drive them out. You can put your cutoffs. I pulled the cut ones out of my 22, so I had them. So I just pulled these out. If I ever want to put the stock ones back in my truck, I can do that. These are the stock FX4 blocks. You can see the trimmer blocks are an inch taller than those. I think these are 2s, or right at 2s. I think the trimmers are 3s. These are your overloads with the little block that goes in between. This is what will come out. And like I said, that's what gives you the inch. You can use your stock bolts. And then you see you've got here, you've got the 2 factory front coil springs. And then I also have the factory track bar bracket, and then your stock tires. So that's what your pile is going to look like. These are the sensor mounts that go over the top of the leaf spring. So stock, basically this is here. And then that little pin actually bolts into that little ear right there. There's one for the driver and one for the passenger. And then the 2 front leaks that I use from One Up Off-Road. Like I said, you can build you a small bracket and use these stock ones if you want. But you can see right here, they are 2 different part numbers. I think they're a little bit different lengths. So like I said, mark both those sensors before you do your level kit. Just make sure you get them pretty close to the vicinity of where they were. So another one of the things I wanted to show you is this Leer kit with the bed cover actually comes with these. And the others are just clamps that clamp it to the bed rail, which work good. I mean, that thing is locked down for sure. But this actually helps you twist this up a little bit, right? Instead of it clamping down and kind of rolling the center of the bed cover. And if you had a standard tailgate, that wouldn't really be a problem. But what I'm gonna show you is, and the reason I moved those to the back, the installation says to put those in the middle, you know, to kind of help support the middle. But what I was having was the electric tailgate was having a hard time closing because it sags in the middle just a little bit. So I was either going to put a little thing here so I could bump it up, because I want it to seal, right? You want that seal on that bed cover to come right here to the edge so that you don't get any water in there. And so by putting those on the sides right there and flexing those rails up, I actually got it to come up enough in the center that the electric tailgate functions no problem, and it makes a nice solid seal. I'm going to show that to y'all real quick so you can see it come into the back. See, we hit that seal all the way across. It's even sealed up under here. And then we'll open the tailgate and then close it again. Before I put those on, the tailgate would actually hit it and then open back up because it sensed like it was ajar. So that's really nice. Another thing with these tailgates is when you're hooking up your fifth wheel, these have the camera that switches here and the sensors here, which is nice when you're backing up under your fifth wheel. It won't really let you run into your trailer, and you can see how close you are, and these sensors actually let you know how close you are so you don't overshoot that and hit your trailer. Okay, so in Texas, once your temporary tags go out, the next problem you're going to have is a license plate. We have to have front license plates in the state of Texas, and so right now Ford offers this one for 22 models. Now, once your winch is installed, it's pretty tight. You're not going to get those little C-clamps in there, but this piece right here will just pop out, and you can slide those C-clamps up under there and then slide it down. Okay, just make sure you pull it away so it doesn't scratch your paint. Just push it up in there. But what you're going to find is these are actually too short on this one. It actually flexes the top of this plate back when you install it. These two bottom pieces actually just go up under here. And this is a special plate, guys. You're gonna have to order this. Even if you order the winch kit, it does not come with the truck, okay? You're gonna get the one that goes up here. So what I'm gonna do for now until they make a 23, 24 is I'm gonna cut these little C clips off right here. And then I'm gonna put some 3M tape on this, and I'm gonna push them up under here and just push it up in there. These clips down here hold it really tight on the bottom. It doesn't have a lot that it needs to hold right here. So like I said, I'm just gonna do some 3M tape, stick it up under there. That's gonna work for now until they release a plate for the 23, 24 winch mount. Hopefully they have a plan for that in the future. Ford, if you're listening, we're gonna need that. Okay, so when you're hooking up to your trailer, one of the things I wanted to show y'all too was you can see it says 262 miles to empty. Now I've pulled this trailer, it knows what miles per gallon I get, and it saves it in the profile of the trailer. So I haven't hooked anything up yet, so let's get out. I'm gonna show you all the camera and the TPMS function and kind of how you can set that up. Okay, not hooking the trailer up, we're just backing under here. Okay, I've got to do this, sorry, with one hand. Let's see here. Okay, get your 7-way hooked up, and then you can hear it beeping in there. And then this is our bottom pin for TPMS and our lights. So got those two hooked up. Let's go back into the truck now. Okay, and it's going to tell me over here to select the trailer. So first thing I'm going to do is click that, and then see I've got my wolf pack programmed in there. And so my trailer gain, you see the little trailer under there, it tells you I don't have the Bliss system hooked up. You can get that kit too if you want for your trailer. So if you look right now, you see we changed to 145 miles to empty. That's because the truck knows what kind of miles per gallon this trailer gets, okay? The next step when we're hooking up is you'll go to your little knob here. We're gonna switch over to tow haul. Now you can set this profile up however you want it to look. Let me put my seatbelt on. You can see it changes to the graph grid here in a minute. That'll go away, and it should pull up my trailer TPMS if I don't have to go to the menu for it. And then also on the heads-up display, you can see you get the graph grid. Okay, so diesel measurements is what always comes up, so you can leave it there. But for me, a lot of times when I'm towing, I'll go to my, let's see here. I think it's my towing menu. There we go. And then trailer tire information. So the minute I pull out, you can see it's specified to 75 PSI. So it's going to be plus or minus 5 to 10%. So the trailer tire is probably going to have to get to 65 before the light comes on. So I set mine at 75 because I keep about 75 in them. And so the minute I get to rolling with this trailer and it's hooked up, all those pressures pop up, temperatures, we're good to go. You know, the only other thing I do when I'm towing is I throw my exhaust brake on. You will notice my truck TPMS is on because foreskin has not came out for the 24s yet, so I haven't been able to fix the thresholds for the truck, but that's why that light's on. But overall, you can see 145 to empty, miles to empty with the trailer. And a lot of you will actually, you'll go and hook your trailer and you'll be like, how come that little trailer's still on? Or your distance to empty is still really low. So when you come back here and you unplug this, right? Sometimes the truck will pick it up on its own, which you can see this time it did. It went back to 262 miles to empty because it defaulted back to the truck mileage, what it knows. But a lot of times if that little trailer's still there, you'll have to come over to your screen and you'll just have to select no active trailer. You know, maybe if you turn the truck off and you unplugged it and it didn't sense it. But that's how you get rid of that little trailer under there. All right, now we've got all that we went over. I want to thank y'all for watching the video today. Guys, I tried to answer as many questions as I can in the video. Sorry if it's a little lengthy, but wanted to go over every scenario. You know, the difference between the 23 and 24s isn't much, just the headrest speakers, you know, just little things. But the one thing I will say about the 24 is the gauge cluster actually goes back to what you had it on. So I leave mine on diesel measurements, it comes up as diesel measurements. On my 23, I always had to go in there and select it off of my view, right? But you'll get the update in 23 that will fix that problem. So it's coming to you, you just gotta wait on the truck to get the update. Ford will send them out whenever. But overall, just wanted to give the data. You know, I like this Limited over the Platinum. It does feel a little bit more luxurious. It does have the massaging seats. Most of the 24s are getting them now. The 23s, if you ordered them, you know, you didn't get them, they got deleted unless you ordered a Limited. You know, the blue is not as bright as in the sun it is a little bit, but it really, like the tone of this truck and the inside, I was a little worried about getting the blue interior, and it looks great. I have no regrets. You know, it's very toned down. But anyway, like I said, just wanted to get as much data out there as I could about the systems, things I've ran into, you know, towing, you know, what leveling kit, what links, you know, how to do it. And I've got lots of other videos on my 23 Platinum if y'all want to go back and look at those too, you know, to kind of see. I just did I think the 1.5" Readylift block in it, you know. So a lot of different stuff. But again, thanks for watching the video. Hope it helps you. If you got any questions, drop below. I'll try to get them answered. And we'll catch you on the next video.